Hello, I'm Ahad Ali Siddiqui, and I welcome to another episode of Affreej Alumni Stories series, where we celebrate the journey of our learners and explore how education can unlock opportunities and shape meaningful futures. Affreej is built on the belief that learning can be accessible, should be accessible, engaging, and flexible for everyone. In this series, we reconnect with our alumni to hear about their experiences, the challenges they navigated, the skills they have developed, and how their journey continues to influence where they are today. In today's episode, we are joined by Mohammed Fidyan, and we'll talk about his journey, his progress, and the insights he has for current and future learners. So let's begin. Welcome to Alumni series of Affreej Fidyan, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. So we finally are able to do it. We were trying to get get a hands-on Fidyan as well. He's right now currently pursuing his studies as well as a few projects that he's doing, and we'll be going to talk about that as well. But Fidyan, starting with, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, what is currently going on in the career and education spectrum of your life?
Well, uh, to start off from the beginning, I could say that I started off with my schooling in Jeddah. I grew up most of my life over there. I spent my entire adolescence over there. It was a really nice time schooling over there. That's where I met Affreej and everything. The whole journey started from there, from O levels, and continued in A levels. And from there, I then found a university in SRH in Berlin. And I'm currently doing a bachelor's in mechatronics. That's it for current.
That's really good. Acha, do I would like to also know how do you got to know about Affreej and how you got enrolled and which course did you complete on Affreej learning?
I got to know through a friend, and initially I started off with web designing. I learned a bit of HTML and CSS the hard way rather than going through AI. And back then it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that good. And then from there, I realized that she had a lot more courses in Affreej, and I went in O levels and I took ICT and computer science with Affreej. Once I was done with that, I got an A in ICT and A star in computer science. After that, I went for computer science in A levels. I ended up completing it with a B.
Great work. That's great. And right now you are doing a bachelor's in Berlin. So tell me a little bit about that. How you got into the this particular field in which you are doing the bachelor's, and a little bit about that. What it's about. What's the scope of it, and how you got to introduce yourself to it.
Well, the first time I heard of the field was truthfully from a friend's father, not even from him. And he told me about this field, and I researched more on it and got to know it because I felt like I was gonna go towards engineering. I was thinking between mechanical or electrical, or it was computer science. Uh, and then mechatronics was really perfect because it takes the fundamentals of mechanical, electrical, and it has a little bit of computer science, not a lot, but there's a few basics of coding and data management in there, and AI as well. So it's a combination of all these fields, and it leans heavily towards robotics as well. So
Ah,
there's a
okay.
scope in that area as well. Yeah.
Definitely. And as we are moving forward with all the revolution that AI is bringing to the world, the next step is to have a very moving towards the robotics of it. So, as we move forward with the podcast, Fidya, I would like to know what inspired you to enroll with a free platform, as well as how it changed your life as you were doing all these courses at a free. Getting to know about an organization or an e-learning platform and then experience it firsthand are two different things. So, after knowing it and after enrolling it, what inspired you to keep on going with it, and how was the experience?
Well, the first time I got to know of it was through a friend because he had enrolled during the summer vacations. We had nothing going on, and he was enrolled, and I was like, might as well. I don't have anything going on either. And that's how I really got into it. And to be honest, I was paired up with really good teachers. Miss Farah was really nice, and she was really skilled in getting her point across online. So building a
Mhm.
website which was completely new, and it was really interesting. It was a new experience, and I got to learn a lot. And I didn't know that learning online could be that easy at that point because it was my first experience. And at that time, I think teaching online was taking off because it was just a year before COVID. Just, yeah, I would say a year or half a year before COVID. And then COVID hit and everything became online. And it was an edge for me a little bit because I was already able to learn online. I was already accustomed to it. So that was nice because, especially in A levels, all of my teachers were just teaching online. It was really helpful to set me up for the future. And in terms of education and what I learned, the basics of everything that was taught, and my teacher really tried to go a bit beyond and teach a bit more than required. So the basics which I got from
That's
there was really helpful because even now when for example, when I look at code, even though nowadays, even in university level, coding has become really redundant. You can just AI everything. You just prompt
yeah.
it and you can AI. But the issue with AI is that troubleshooting. And unless you can understand a little bit of code, you have to keep prompting and figuring it out. But if you know your basics of coding, you can look at the problem and trace it down and troubleshoot. So that really helps a lot when you have the basics.
That's great. That is really great. Yes, and also the basics are your fundamental ground where you build the foundation of whatever you're going to do in the field when it comes to AI and robotics. And I'm so glad that you got to have the experience, the first-hand experience, and that too all within e-learning online platform, which sometimes get really difficult. People think that having a one-on-one session or in-person classes when it comes to AI or understanding the programming and coding is extremely important. So, can you make a difference here? How simpler or easier it was to have online sessions and online learning when it comes to AI and coding and everything that you have done with e-learning? How comfortable were you while you were going through that experience?
Honestly, very comfortable. I was really used to it at that point. And working online it has its benefits. It truly has its benefits. You can manage way more in a day if you're just working online because you don't have the commute time and everything. This is something I specifically learned as soon as I came to university because sometimes we have online classes and sometimes we have on-campus classes, and you realize how much time you save rather than going to university, spending 30,
Yeah.
40 minutes in public transport. You could just have the class online. But um, there are a lot of things and benefits, especially to being there in campus, because you have a better interaction with the teacher. But I have to say, with Afreej and with my teacher specifically, Miss Farah, she was very good at interacting with each and every student. She made sure that nobody was left out. This is one of the things not every teacher does, which is why online is not that preferred.
Yes, and sometimes if you are not enrolled in the right e-learning platform, and it gets really difficult if you're not have a proper attention where it's needed. So, a free learning is very, very, very keen to provide the special attention and the overall learning experience to each and every student. Which brings us to my next question: is how would you describe your overall learning experience with Affreej over the years you've done so many courses?
It was fantastic. I have no complaints whatsoever. It was easy. If I had any questions, I could reach out of course, during the class, I could clarify, and then after the class as well, I could message, and whenever my teacher was available, she would respond.
Mm,
And it really helps when you've had the same teacher going through O level and A level, they really know your weaknesses. So
yeah.
it was really efficient in that way, you could say.
That's really great. Yes, to have a teacher who understand where you stands and what comes easy to you, what will take a little bit of time and a little bit of energy and support. in order to meet the goal, that really is very important and essential in order to have a good learning experience, because that's where the foundation lies, as well as is coming to the fact that it's e-learning. It's not one-on-one session. How important it is for any learner who is listening right now to this podcast, who is pursuing e-learning, or a student who is about to, pursue e-learning, doing different courses. What would you like to say to them as a student, and also for the teachers who are going to be pursuing the e-learning platforms? That what should they do, which a free e-learning already did for you? What are the key essentials to have a successful e-learning experience?
I think for as a teacher, you need to really move on with the times. Like I've seen teachers who, instead of getting the right equipment, they write with the mouse. They're really slow. They work with presentations, and that really affects. Like you need to understand what you're teaching and what would help you do that better in this day and age. Like for example, if you're teaching maths, it's ideal if you get like a tablet or an iPad or a designer tablet which you can connect with your laptop. But for students, I think there's just one thing, which is don't do anything else on the side. It's very tempting when you're doing it online to do anything on the side, to go on your phone, to scroll, to go
Yeah.
go to YouTube, do anything.
Yeah.
It's very tempting. If you can just get beyond that and you have a decent teacher on the other side, I think you'll be fine. There's nothing more to keep in mind.
So yes, for the teachers, be a little tech savvy and see what will work. And for students, yes, to be focused. And the smile on your face, Vidyan, tells me that you struggle with it a little bit, that temptation and that focus thing. Tell me a little bit about that. Have you ever looked towards your phone while you were going through a session or something?
I've done more than that.
Okay.
I've done
Okay.
more than that, but it was COVID. COVID hit, and we were doing online classes in school. I
Yeah.
finished. I finished Harry Potter, the movies.
Oh, okay. Not advisable to everybody who's listening out there, because yes, but
Yeah.
Vidyan is also the best examples comes from the experience. As Vidyan already said that okay, if you get distracted during it, definitely you have to work twice or thrice as hard as
Yeah.
in comparison to if you have only focused on the class. So yes, it's important, and kudos to you, Fidyan, with the Harry Potter and getting the temptation and then getting distracted. You passed through it, so it must be a very, very intelligent man. But you learn from your mistakes, and that's really very great. So, Fidyan, which platform features such as adaptive learning, multimedia lessons, or interactive sessions supported you the most during this journey?
Platform features, as in like applications or stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. The learning platforms which helped you with like adaptive learning, multimedia lessons, and interactive exercises at a free G learning. Which of these features? They have adaptive learning, they have multimedia lessons as well, they have interactive exercises. So, which of these features of the platform at a free G learning supported you the most in your learning journey?
I think the most was probably real-time question solving. We used to have, she used to make, for each topic, my teacher used to make a customized question bank, and then we'd all solve it, write our answers down, and then she'd solve it and tell us which are the important things and what would get you the marks. And then obviously you check yourself because it's e-learning. So you see what you did right and what you did wrong. And that when you're doing that, you really get to know which topic is not your best and which is amazing and which you can just leave for the end and you can revise and you'll be fine, and which one you need attention to.
Yeah. So you think like a combination of all these features that a free learning offers, adaptive learning comes into it, what you have just mentioned, interactive exercises are also a part of what you have just mentioned, that you get to understand what is the question, what part of these questions are important, and how we're going to move forward in order to get the best results. So all these features that are being offered at a free learning are key essentials for e-learning experience, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's
Yeah. And
really important for
also,
the student to be tested at every point.
yeah, to be tested and to have where he or she lies in their progress while they're having the experience. So, which also brings us to the essential point of learning at your own pace, which is a key feature whenever anybody talks about e-learning experiences. They said, okay, you can learn on your own pace, but sometimes, as you have mentioned yourself, the other factors of temptation or distraction or doing other things, because that attention span is so little at the moment, these things also can become a hindrance in the way of learning. So did learning at your own pace make a difference, and if is it did make a difference, in what way it did?
I think when you're learning online, if you are completely left to learn on your own, it is very rare that I've seen that somebody picks up a good pace or does it vigilantly or is following through. The thing with Affreej learning was that because I was having sessions with my teacher and everybody was there, we had a small batch. It was important that I had to show up every other day, and this helped me be regular. But even if my pace wasn't that good in class, because I was consistent, it helped me catch up at every moment. And whenever I got ahead, I could rest, so it was fine. But the point with Afriji learning was that you were consistent because of it, because you
Yeah.
had to show up every other day. You had a teacher waiting for you on the other side. It wasn't a
Yes.
course, because nowadays you can just buy a course. It will be with you. It will probably be useful. It will be nice. But the biggest thing is for you to consistently show up and do it. You
Yeah.
can't just do that if you have another teacher on the other side and you're like, not today. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yes, and because that also provides an element of responsibility on the student as well, that
Exactly.
you are committed to something and you have to be there. Except for the other platforms where you have a course that, as you have mentioned yourself, it's not going to be a class; it's just a pre-prepared course which you're going to learn on your own pace. But to have a teacher waiting for you, and other students, your companions, working in the same environment and trying to learn the same things, that environment is extremely important. That what a free learning offers with their courses and the kind of learning experience with e-learning platforms. So let's talk a little bit about, as we have mentioned so far, there are key pointers which I have noted in the conversation so far, which indicates that there were very key moments of personal growth on a very emotional level, personal level, in terms of critical thinking, as you have said yourself, that be focused a little, and how teachers should be doing more better when it comes to e-learning experiences. So I would like to really know what key skills or knowledge did you gain from your courses at a free learning?
I think with the because I had been my first course was coding a website from scratch, HTML and CSS, and then after that I went to do Python in A levels. I think these coding classes really help build my critical thinking and my logical side. That if I'm
Mm-hmm.
facing an issue, I need to narrow that issue down and understand why I'm going through this problem, and if I'm going through this problem, where to pinpoint it. But so yeah, I would say logical thinking and troubleshooting in a way. That my critical
Troubleshooting.
thinking was really built because of coding.
Yeah, and when we talk about these things after we go through an experience, see, during going through an experience, there's so much that is happening, and the other part of life is also very active. So you sometimes it's very difficult. It gets very difficult to pinpoint what is happening and what kind of things that you're learning at the moment, and what kind of experiences that you are gaining at the moment, which will help you in the future or will make an impact on you as a learner, as a person itself. But when once you move past it and look back, all these things come along, and or you get to understand what you have applied and what you're applying, what you have learned from that era to now. So how have you applied what you learned in your studies, work, and personal projects during your time with Affreej learning and the courses to what you're doing at the moment?
I think it's more of taking a step back. Like whenever I'm going through issues or I'm not seeing results within myself or my grades or some project I'm working on, I think I learned to take a step back, relax, and analyze, because really break everything down. Because once I see a problem, I tend to break everything around it down and I want to see what is relevant to it. And if that is relevant, I include it in my head. Okay, this is relevant, this is relevant, this is relevant. And then I see what am I doing right out of all of these things and what needs more help. And then I try to think, if I improve that, how much will it help me? How much of a difference will it make? Will it make a difference? And through this process, I try to understand what is going wrong and how to improve it. But to be
That's
honest, I
really
think that was
substantial
built.
and profound.
Yeah, yeah.
To be
I feel
honest,
like that
please
was
repeat that.
I feel like that was really built over time, and maths and programming. I think these two things really help you build that
Mhm.
in a way. It's you need to apply it in different ways, but I think they teach you that without us even realizing it.
Yeah, and that is really amazing because once you, as I have said before, once you start looking back at what you have learned and you get to understand, okay, these were the key things that sometimes we don't really acknowledge at that time, or just it's just not pinpointed and you don't have a handle on it. But once you start looking back, and what you have said is so profound, that have a certain element of analyzing, that skill is very important when it comes to learning, and especially during your career, critical thinking, analyzing the situation, and get to see what is relevant to the end result and what is not, and how you're going to reach towards that with the critical thinking. Analyzing is such an amazing skill to have, and I'm really amazed to develop that. Through an e-learning platform, which because during the time period I was studying myself, there was no concept of e-learning, right? And just to get the feeling that how e-learning can actually shape lives and enable critical thinking, analyzing skills in another human being for the betterment of their learning experience and their course, is something really great, which free learning is probably mastering with practice on different students as well. So, was there a moment where you realize now, after your courses at Free Learning, as we are talking about past experiences, was there a moment when you realized the course, okay, had made a real difference for you? Aha moment where you said, okay, this is something which I'm applying right now, but I got to understand, learn, or experience it through my e-learning days at Free.
I think I properly got to see it happen when I was stuck in the beginning of last semester in a there was a class in which at the end of it you needed to program an RC car to move through a maze. They'll give you the car and everything required, but you need to program it from scratch. And the thing was, everybody was trying to use AI and try to go and do that, but at that time AI was really buggy and it wasn't working properly for anyone. It was giving a lot of issues. And whenever I saw somebody's code, I was like, "That's AI, bro. That's not gonna work. Not right now, at least." Uh, At that point, when I was doing it, because I was trying to do it on my own, I was really struggling trying to program it. It was in Python, but I was making mistakes. I was trying to understand the logic behind it, and I wasn't getting it done. But at some point, I took a break and I left the code aside and I tried to just understand what the robot is meant to do. And then I broke the logic of that down, and then I put that into a code form, I guess. And
Okay.
then I spent 3 days consistently going to uni, trying to work with the robot, asking the professor to just give it to me during another class if an extra is free. And he was kind enough to do so. And I kept the doors open longer than they should have, but after the end of the third day, I cracked it. And on the day of the presentation, during that, I knew what changes I needed to make. Within the first hour, I had it done. So during that process, I realized I know how to work through problems. I know how to deal with them. And
Yeah.
mostly because it was related to coding, I remembered you guys. So that was nice. Yeah. That was a good
That
eureka moment at that point.
That's so nice to hear, and I'm so glad for you. I'm so glad for you that you get to understand it. See, having experiences and learning through experiences, one thing, but to be able to recognize and identify what you are going through at the moment and how your problem solving or your troubleshooting your life or your e-learning, your learning experiences or your career at the moment and reflect back, it is also a very good skill and it's a intuitive skill which you have, Fidyan, and I'm so glad for you because this particular skill to reflect and get to understand um, uh, where you're coming from and what you have learned and then applying it in your current scenario. I hope that it goes on happening and you're going to go a long way with that. These are the differences that a free learning is trying to make without even knowing sometimes with just pure sheer urge and dedication towards students. That's what free learning is all about. And with that, there are definitely going to be some challenges as we go through our courses, as students go through the e-learning experience. Everybody is different, and we definitely feel some of the difficulties and challenges that we face while we're going through any experience. So, did you encounter any challenges during the course, and how did you overcome them when you were working and studying at Fiji Learning?
Honestly, I didn't encounter any challenges, to be very honest. It was a smooth ride for me through it all.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
And that's a good thing.
yeah. Yeah, it was honestly really nice. I was having issues with other subjects, but whenever it came to Affreej learning the subjects I had for O levels and A levels, it was really smooth. And before that, when I wasn't doing for O levels, A levels, and there was no deadlines, it was just website designing. Even then, it was pretty smooth.
That's great. That's great because sometimes the alignment of how and what you are being taught and how you're going to approach that, it just gets really well, and it's a kind of thing that we at a free learning try to accomplish with every student. And yes, there are some students who find a little bit of difficulties, and that's also part of the experience. And then they move on to pick up on that those challenges and then achieve what they're trying to achieve with that. As you have mentioned, how useful was the learning resource and feedback provided by the Afrij while you're going through that, as there were no difficulties, but definitely that kind of experience without any challenges or just very intuitive, definitely come from a lot of resources and feedback that was provided by the Afrij e-learnings teachers and tutors. So how was that for you and how profoundly changed or shaped your learning experience?
I think we had two books, and then we had question banks from our mess. And on top of that, we had a very open class. So if anybody ever found a better resource or something useful online, our teacher was always open to it rather than being like, no, it's not from our platform. No, this, she was open to it and she was like, If you think it helps and if you think it's useful, share it. And that was really helpful. So overall, in the resource department, we had all the important things, everything required. And even before that, when I was doing website designing before everything, uh, we learned on a really old software. But it was open source, it was available, it was simple, easy to pick up. So the resource department was really good. They knew what was needed for the course specifically and just what was enough, not to overburden or bombard. Like, I know she could have taken a latest software, but that would have been paid, and the other students would have to pay for that and would be a burden and a hassle for them. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was smart selection of resources, I would say.
That's great. That's great. And also having that environment which is so open where you can bring your own ideas and the things that you are experiencing or finding out through your during your e-learning experience, like as you have mentioned, different courses or different resource material, and be open because rigidity never works when it comes to trying to learn something new and trying to achieve something, and for the betterment of anything. Whenever a person or an institute is rigid, it's it gets really hard to achieve any kind of success through that. And that's where a free learning is a perfect example of a learning platform, because there is no rigidity there. And as you have mentioned yourself, it's a very open environment of classes and things that go on. I'm going to pivot a little towards what you have talked about on saying that AI and the resources that were coming in, and people are sharing their projects or things, and you were very easily able to identify that, okay, not right now. I can see where it's coming from, but maybe in the future. But this code or this particular AI generated thing is not going to be working, and I can definitely identify. How have you see the difference in the past few years? About the coding through AI and all the things that are being created through AI? Is the difference of human generated, human intelligence in AI and the artificialness is blurring now? How would you take that?
I have to say it's getting really good, scarily good.
Yeah.
Like, with the thing which I told you, the example which I gave right now, that was 6 months ago, I think. Six
Mm-hmm.
months ago or 8 months ago. If I look at other code AI coding platforms today, right now, they are already miles ahead from where they were at that point. I think now they can probably code that really simply because it's not it's very good nowadays if you can prompt it well, because nowadays there's a new field called prompt engineering which requires you to prompt properly your problems.
Yeah.
If you can holistically explain your problem to the AI and then tell it the constraints, it's getting
Yeah.
so good that it will probably finish it, and you can probably troubleshoot like 2 3 times with it while talking to it and get perfect it, and you'll have a finished product. The thing is, the only reason why you can tell whether it's made by a human or by an AI is probably because of the gap and how much AI likes to write. Like, it depends on the AI as well, but like in ChatGPT, if you notice, in coding, it loves to write comments, it loves to give the proper definition for each thing,
Yeah.
and it writes in a specific way that if you have used it enough times, you can tell, okay, this is from ChatGPT. I know where this is
Yeah.
from. And
Yes.
with the human touch, it's just, I suppose, imperfection, you could say, because we don't tend to write comments about everything. We don't tend to structure it properly all the time. Sometimes, if it's an optional indentation, we leave it out because we can understand the code and we're the ones writing it. So for us, it doesn't matter. But AI will structure everything in a proper way in terms of indentation, structure, spacing, whatnot. But yeah, that's probably how you can differentiate. But nowadays it's really good. And I
Yeah.
would I would say that in 3 months time it will 6 months time it would be, it's so good that you would not even need to code in your classes whenever you have an assignment. Now, whenever I have a coding assignment, I generally uh, generates, I I prompt my entire problem and the entire solution I need to it. It generates a file of the code. I test that. I edit it myself to my liking or whatever I want to troubleshoot or anything. That's it. I don't need to do anything. And the thing is, professors don't care either. They're saying as long as you can understand it, they don't care. But your
But Fidyan,
understanding is a big thing. They will always question you on that. They will always ask
exactly.
you questions.
Because getting it done, see, there are a few ways of learning, and one of the most tried and tested way is to do something and you learn during that process at how you have done it, right?
Mm.
When another machine or AI is doing something for you, uh, do you think the process of understanding it, the conceptualizing of it, gets a little more difficult because now somebody else has a new thing, an artificial intelligence platform or a program have done it for you. So you have to go through each step. Is it more difficult or easier to understand it this way rather than doing it yourself, which takes time and energy and everything, but it also gives you that basic foundation of doing it yourself?
I think specifically when it comes to learning, we need to understand that nothing is gonna help you learn unless you want to learn it. There's a lot of people that just use AI to get the job done, and they'll get past that stage because they don't want to do coding or anything further, and that's understandable, honestly. But if you want to learn coding, then AI will help you a lot as well if you use it that way.
Hmm.
AI will do whatever you ask it to do. If you ask it to teach you, it will teach you, it will give you questions, it will focus on topics. But if you ask it to get the job done, it will just get the job done. It all depends on you. So if you are in the mindset, no, I need to understand this, I need to learn this, then it will help you. It will 100% help you. I find AI to learn new things way easier than it was, I would say, like what, even a year ago. It was much more difficult for me to search. It was much more difficult for me to learn something new. If I look at my maths, whenever I had maths questions, exams, I don't understand something, I take a picture, send it to it, ask what I'm doing wrong. When it tells me what I'm doing wrong, I'm like, why do I need to do this instead? Why can I not do what I just did? So conceptual building, it all comes down to how you use the AI.
So, if you have to rephrase it or somehow answer it, it dials down to your intent of
Exactly.
learning where you are, and that goes for every student, be it an one-on-one session or e-learning platform or with or without AI. It's always the intent that you really want to learn this or really want to understand what you are trying, or you just trying to get the job done and get it off your shoulder for the moment, because that is going definitely going to be momentarily. In the future we're definitely going to face some situations where what you have applied in the past you have to apply again, and sometimes, and especially when you don't have the confidence of doing it yourself and getting to know each and everything, right, left, and center of what you're coding or what you are trying to create. You will definitely going to face some issues, and that's what Fidyan just pointed out very, very swiftly. So that is one thing. But with that, as you have said very rightly so, that it's now getting also very easier to identify what is AI and what is not, because it's the element of perfection is in proportion of too much, that you get to see, okay, this is too perfect and there's no human error in it, so this must be AI. So that's also one thing which people, which those who are using AI get to understand and have a sense about, that things that are too perfect, which also going to be recognized as that. And I have seen a few tools of AI that are humanizing things, but still, it's never going to have that human touch. How do you see the future of coding? How do you see the future of everything in the world with the AI in the next 5 years? Because as we have talked about, in the last 6 or 7 months or one year, the AI have progressed so much. How do you see the future in the next 5 years, and where is going to take mankind, human civilization, when it's come to knowledge, understanding, creating things, technology, and as well as regular stuff that is going on? Because AI right now is everywhere. It's in every field. Everyone is using it. Everyone's taking advantage of it where it's needed, with good intentions, with bad intentions, with getting stuff done or getting actually trying to understand what to do through it. So, how do you see the future of it?
I see a lot of basic jobs disappearing and a lot of different jobs appearing, such as the ones in AI and machine learning and the people actually responsible behind creating the stuff. I think those kind of jobs are going to definitely appear more. But the simplest jobs, which I guess you could say, for example, like a junior software engineer, junior coder or something, or website designing, or perhaps even at the basic level of accounting. I think those jobs are really in trouble for the next 10 years at the pace. If they keep up the pace at which they're improving at, it can be really dangerous for them. Because even in a span of a year, ChatGPT, Claude, and all of these Gemini, all of these AI have progressed so much that you would be at a disadvantage if you are not using it. Because everybody in your class, everybody in the job market, they're using it. If you're not using it, you're at a disadvantage because human beings will spend time to learn other things, and sometimes those things are unnecessary, unimportant, but AI will just do it like that, and you wouldn't need it.
Yes. And as technology progress, we have seen this time and again, from, let's say, a technology that came in, like drones, came into functioning, and you get to see a lot of jobs going out of it. There was social media that got in, and a few jobs got created, a lot of jobs got banned. So, what kind of jobs do you see being created because of this? In the next five, you have already mentioned the jobs that are going to be obsolete in a couple of years. What are the new venues are going to be opening, which people can pursue, which students can pursue? And also, I would like to know from your own experience, because you're in the field and you are constantly using AI and also robotics and everything that goes around it. What a person who is not working in this environment or studying this, utilize or enhance him or herself towards a better security of job and a future in coexistence with AI.
Look, I think it's certainly possible when you have used AI in different scenarios. For example, my friend, uh, he's very interested in MATLAB and simulation and stuff like that, but for him to learn all of that from a basic level to a proficient level, it will take a lot of time. He needed to do it for the project right now. So what he did was he explained everything he needed to do, and he asked the AI to write the code required for simulation. And he gave all the parameters, and the AI went back and forth asking for other parameters and constraints. Once that was done, it produced a script and it gave a simulation which he could run and get a result from. He didn't know anything about coding. He wants to learn because he wants to get good at the software. He's interested, he's curious. But for the time being, his job was being done. I think coding would be the first job which would be going,
Mhm.
coding at this level. And I also think but that every other person would need to understand basics because AI is not perfect. It has issues and you need to understand what it's doing most of the time. Uh, but what jobs would be created? I would say like there's huge data centers which are required to be built to support this kind of AI computation and everything. So building that kind of infrastructure requires people. Maintaining that kind of infrastructure requires people. People who maintain and build the technical side of all of that, making these powerful computers like NVIDIA. Those guys are constantly producing powerful GPUs one after another just for AI. Some of those GPUs are not meant for the public. They're
Mm.
just being sold to ChatGPT because of their deals. And
Yeah.
that's really important. Those are huge jobs which are opening up, and they're not small jobs either. They're really well paid jobs.
Yes, definitely. So if you are right now in a phase of your life where you are trying to understand, for all those who are listening right now, especially the students, that what to do, also find your field where you are very interested in what you want to do, and then see how it's going to progress. Use AI to understand
Yeah.
where it's going to, why not? Like where it's going to be standing in the next 10 years and what impacts are going to be created in the next 5 to 10 years for that particular field, and see how you can pivot, because that is one thing which is really very important right now, to pivot with the situation and see where you will find the best outcome for yourself. Because at the end of the day, yes, you have to think about yourself and see how you can coexist with the technology and how it, as it is evolving through time. So that's really great. And Fidyan, I'm so glad that we had to got the chance to have this particular conversation regarding AI and how you see it shaping lives and as well as different fields in the coming few years. Which also make me think that you have a certain element of critical thinking, which what you are doing at the moment and what you have experienced through the e-learning platform of Affreej during your courses. So how do you feel your experience with the Affreej e-learning contributed to where you are right now, the way you think right now, the way you are analyzing and understanding the world, especially during your courses, the projects that you are doing. So how do you feel your experience with the free learning contributed to where you are right now? So I would like to know that.
I think, as I said before, it was mostly Affreej really helped me with problem solving, logical thinking, and stuff like that. But in order to really progress, you need to have personal growth, and that only comes with time. That you just have to experience a lot of stuff, not be afraid to experience a lot of stuff. I'm still afraid of experiencing a few things, jumping in there. There's always that element of hesitation. But in order to grow, you just need to jump in. And that's going to be difficult at every point in your life, but you need to know what's important for you. And that's the only way you'll grow. Yeah.
That's great. I'm so glad that you were able to understand that and also apply it to your life, your studies, and what you're doing right now. I would like to know a little bit about the project that's going on, what you are doing apart from your studies at the moment. Would you like to share that?
Yeah, right now I'm enrolled in a team inside my university. It's called CanSat. It's basically a can-sized satellite. It's in the name, which will be sent up into the air approximately a kilometer above, and it needs to eject on its own from the rocket which has sent it up, and it needs to deploy a parachute. And after that, at like 80% altitude, it needs to deploy a paraglider and remove the parachute. And that needs to reach to a specific target location. That's why we need the paraglider so we can control it midair towards which
Mm.
direction it's moving. And during all of this, data needs to be sent from the CanSat to the ground station, such as altitude, temperature, pressure, and GPS location. This data needs to be sent constantly, and the paraglider needs to be steered towards the target location. Once it reaches that target location, an instrument needs to be dropped. That instrument is containing an egg uh, wrapped in foam so that
Okay.
it doesn't break. And the end goal is that that egg does not crack and that it lands in the right target.
Okay. That's great. I guess, like, if I'm not wrong, and I'm coming from a background which knows nothing about robotics, I would say this is a very important tool. It resembles what is being done at SpaceX at the moment, like to get something landed precise on a precise position, as you have mentioned, the egg. So. How do you see this particular project helping you in the future, and how do you see and why you opted for this particular one?
Because I realized that in order to learn real life applications, I need to do projects. And I realized this because of a friend of mine, and he was really always pushing me that we need to do some sort of projects, we need to get into something. And in this project, you obviously you have your tasks divided to other people, and what your task is, you need to focus on that. But because at the end of the day, we need to pull all our findings and build it, you can you can ask your friends and what they have built, and how they made it, what helped them. And obviously you learn when you're doing your part, so it helps you understand your mechanical part and the electrical parts and the coding part, and you can ask and you can see, okay, we're doing this with this hardware, we got this because of that, and this works better, and we should do it this way. And uh, it really helps in engineering specifically. If you're not doing projects, it's not going to be easy out there. You need to have
Yeah, yeah,
practical
definitely.
understanding.
Definitely. It's just like a bookish learning, and then there's this practical learning, which is extremely important
Exactly.
because you need to apply whatever you have learned in your practical life, in your career life, very, very practically. So that's great. And Fidyan, I'm so glad that you're doing so much, and I'm all the best wishes for you that you succeed in every endeavor that you're about to embark, inshallah, in the future. So I would really like to know that what advice would you offer to the new learners joining a free learning with all the experience that we have talked about, with all the critical thinking that you have? What would be the advice in today's day and age, in 2026 and moving forward, that a learner, new learner, joining a free learning or any e-learning platform, or just navigating through his learning experience, uh, for what to do and how to, grab a better sense of things?
Put your phone away. Put your
Okay,
phone
that's
away.
fine. Have you been distracted by your phone a lot? Because we this is the second time during the podcast that we are discussing this. So have you faced it firsthand, and have you had like firsthand experience with this?
Because I'm a COVID kid, I had to go through COVID and learn through that.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm telling you, you need to put your phone away. Whoever is listening, whoever needs advice, put your phone away. And even if your phone is away and you're taking the class from the laptop, just keep Zoom open. Don't go to YouTube. Don't do anything like that. Don't play games in the background. Because if you're doing that, the course is going to waste. It's just your loss. The
yeah.
teacher's going to benefit at the end of the day because you've already paid them. It's your loss. You're
Because
not benefiting at all.
because a student who is not serious or responsible enough won't be able to grab. The time will be wasted, the energies will be wasted, and you have to do the work at the end of the day. So that
Exactly. It
time,
gets
that
twice as difficult.
yes, because that deadline is not going anywhere. The project that you need to do, or the whatever assignment that you have to complete, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to come and bite you in the back, and it's going to say, "Okay, now it's time, and we need to get this done." And that time, all these YouTube videos or anything that a person is doing is going to be really, really difficult, and it will be a big regret at that time as well. But Fidyan, from a very, very rational and practical point of view, see, it is also not sometimes in a person's hands, because the attention span is shifting, the information overload is so much, the idea of having connected or being connected at all times is so influencing right now. The world itself is very much disoriented when it comes to focusing on a certain thing. Many people are unable to do that. So how have you achieved this? Coming from, as you said, you're a COVID kid, you had to go through all this. How you achieved that focus that you have right now with all the things that you're doing? And if somebody is listening out there and going through this particular problem, and not to judge anyone because there are multiple factors to it, how one can practically work towards betterment for their focus towards a certain project or e-learning, what would you advise them how to do it?
I would say because one of the things which I did, which I felt like was a bigger difference for me, was two things actually. Instead of reels or doom scrolling or having YouTube videos, I replace that with podcast on occasion, like when I'm commuting. I replace that with podcasts, and instead of that, I listen to podcasts about uh, the first, which is the first companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because I'm Muslim and I find that really really important for me to know. And this is an easy way for me to get information, and it's really interesting to me. So that's interesting to me. It's important, and I can retain my focus that way. I'm not doom scrolling. And another thing which I've done is that I used to love to read books back in O levels. I used to read a lot. The Harry Potter series I mentioned, I read that. I saw the movies. I read the books, then I saw the movies. So I really used to love to read. So I'm trying to get back into reading. So in Berlin, I have a lot of commute because of the place where I live. I have minimum 30, 40 minutes of commute all the time. So what I got is I got this small e-reader, e-ink e-reader, and I just got books downloaded into it and I just read. Either I'm reading during my commute or I have a podcast going. Sometimes I still doom scroll, but these things, these small
Okay.
things, they really help.
And that's a great advice. And everybody, just to dial it down or just to rephrase it, if you are slightly addicted to doom scrolling or internet or consuming content, mindless content on internet, and which is hindering in your learning process or your learning environment, just replace it. Don't change the medium, just replace it with something which is going to be helping you practically, very evidently, with what you are doing. So if you're doing scrolling, try it. If you're doing something regarding coding or you're learning something about language, just start, looking for content which is in collision with what in that, which is in cooperation with that, and keep on doing, because this particular addiction is it's been around for over 5 to 10 years now. Since 2010, 11, we are going through this change and transformation and evolution period where we, as human beings, are trying to identify where to land or focus and where to land with this changing time. So yes, it's all okay if you are addicted to certain thing, and it's just about intentions. And if you have intention to do better, you're definitely going to find a way. There is a few examples, as Vidyan himself said. Just change your focus, change your content, and try to consume things that are actually beneficial for you, and they're going to help you in real time in the coming future. And that's the way to go about it. Which brings me to my new question, the next one that we have in mind. With all the things we have discussed during the podcast, why would you recommend Affreej? Because we have discussed a few very, very important positive points about Affreej e-learning platforms, regarding critical thinking, e-learning environment, and other things that goes on. But from all of these, which is the key standpoint for you to recommend free e-learning for anybody who is looking for a e-learning platform to move forward with their educational career? What would be the one reason or two reasons to recommend free e-learning?
Consistent. And yeah, consistent. I would say consistent wise or how is probably because you have classes consistently throughout the week, not just in that way consistent, and also the fact that even if you have a slow pace, you are not forgotten. Even if the class is going at a decent pace and your pace is slower, you will always your teacher will always pay attention to you. She'll always or he will always make sure that you're caught up with the class and you are on the right track. So consistency is always there in every class. You're not forgotten whether you're doing well, you're doing worse, or and you're not belittled like in other places. But yeah, it's consistency.
Actually, you have pointed out something which goes on and we don't talk about it. Yes, it's very important to feel welcomed, to feel that you are in a place where you are growing, maybe taking a very small baby step a day, but still have the element of feeling wanted, acknowledged, and whatever you're doing, because that is essential. Because environment of growth is here, and it's very related to the environment of growth, to have a particular thing. So environment of learning can only thrive in an environment of growth where you have certain elements of that, and FreeG learning offers that. Thank you so much, Vidyan, for pointing that out. And with that, we are coming to a closing of our podcast. Is there anything else would you like to share about your learning journey through the over the years, and what you are going to be doing in the future? What are your plans? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
About my learning journey, I would say that uh, I always thought that at some point my learning would stop. But as you grow up, you realize it keeps going
That's
in
one
one way or
aspect.
another. It's gonna keep going. When you're a kid, you have to learn other things. When you grow up into a teenager, you need to learn your problems. You need to learn your good things and work on that. And when you get older, you need to just keep up with the times. But yeah, your learning is just gonna always be there. Just get used to it and get good at it.
Yeah, just because yes, it's a myth that okay, I have done my learning thing and now I'm going to go into a particular phase of my life. This is going to be with you for the rest of your life, and it's a good thing because if you stop learning, you stop evolving. If you stop reflecting on yourself, you stop evolving, and that's not a very good place to be because you're going to be stuck as a human being with, or especially with these times. It was, I guess, it was very okay, Fidyan, back in the 50s or the 60s where the time was very slow. It was moving on
It
very
was
slow. I'm
very
not,
slow, yeah.
yeah, it was very slow. The life was very dialed down and everything was going on very, at a very certain small, slow pace. Right now, it's just changing every minute. Every minute, there's a new thing that is coming in, and is definitely so. Learning, continuous learning, evolving is one of the key things. Thank you for saying that. And any messages do you have? Do you have a message for the Afrish community? How they have shaped your life? Would you like to say a few things for them?
Uh, Thank you. And I'm grateful that I was a part of Affreej learning. I've learned a lot of things, got a lot of basics, and keep doing what you do and keep learning to do better. Thank you.
That's great. And we are so glad that yes, you are part of a free learning, and it was really amazing to have this conversation with you again, Fidyan. I am so glad for you and so happy with what you have shared about your life and how you're taking course with it. And I'm sure, very sure, that you're going to excel in whatever you're going to do because the key elements always there. The intentions are good. The critical thinking is there, and you want to keep on doing things and being motivated. And I'm so glad that you are doing that. Thank you so much for giving us this time from your really very busy schedules, as we know you are going through, and you're right now dabbling between your studies and the project and the commute and everything, and still you manage to have a few hours for us to conduct this podcast, and I'm so glad that we got to do it. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me. Well, it's been a pleasure.
It was. And it sure was. And with this, that's a wrap up for today's episode of Free Learning Stories, Alumni Stories. A big thank again to Fidyan for sharing his journey, his process, and the inspiring work that he's doing right now, and also after completing the courses at Affreej. At Affreej, we definitely believe that learning is a lifetime journey. A story like this remind us why it matters. If today's conversation inspired you, your story could be the next one we feature. And be sure to follow the podcast, share the episode with someone you might find it encouraging, and stay tuned for more real stories from learners across a free community. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in what you achieve with Affreej. Thank you so very much. This is Ahad Ali signing off from Affreej Alumni Story Series episode. Take care. Goodbye.